What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 12 of 90 Minute Cocktail Hour. I am your host, Mike Guccione. Um, Getting ready to head into the holidays. And just wanted to wish everyone a happy holiday, Merry Christmas. I'm super grateful for everyone that has supported this podcast, liked, shared, given me your feedback in real life. Um, yeah, it's been a really special project for me over this past, 8 or 9 months. And I've had a lot of fun doing it. So, definitely hoping to do more in 2026 and keep your eyes peeled for some new episodes over the next few months. So, um today with me, well, before I get into that, just make sure that you are subscribed wherever you listen to this podcast. It's on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. So make sure that you subscribe, make sure you leave a comment, like, do all that fun stuff. Helps with engagement, tell your friends. Um, Make sure you get the word out there. So today on the podcast, we have my friend Chris Santos of Sacred Crown Studios. Chris and I, we worked together for several years at the Apple Store, and we're both kind of starting our journey into photography and videography around that time. And so we have a lot to talk about, from our days at the Apple Store to getting started in the wedding industry. And we also talked about something that when I started this podcast, I was hoping at some point I was going to get to dive into a little bit. And that is the role of the photographer and the videographer in a broader sense in terms of like spirituality and society. So I have some ideas about that I finally talked about, and Chris also had some input on it as well. And yeah, I'm really excited that we got to dive into that topic a little bit and explore that. So, yeah, without further ado, Chris Santos from Sacred Crown Studios. Enjoy. Chris, what's up, my dude?
Mikey, what's up, brother? How are you?
I am great. I'm so stoked that we're doing this. It's been a minute. It's been a
It's
minute
been
since
a
we've
yeah, it's
since
been
we
a
caught
very
up.
long time. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Chris, you own Sacred Crown Studios. You do like wedding and branding, videography and photography.
Yes,
You want to give like a little intro about like what you do and all that fun stuff?
absolutely. Sacred Crown Studios is something that I started back in 2022. Um, uh, Basically, kind of happened where COVID happens in 2020, and a lot of different things happened during that time where you know, I was very unsure of where the event space was going because, all my gigs got shut down in 2020 and I was just a freelancer at the time and, just kind of waiting for my next opportunity, waiting for my next gig. But we fast forward to 2022 and, the world's kind of getting back to normal, or there's like a normalcy to certain things. Things are opening up. There are no mandates or certain things. So like now I'm thinking like, hey, maybe this is a good time for me to start my LLC and really just kind of, go full fledged with, my own company, my own baby, right? And the beautiful thing about Sacred Crown Studios is that or when I was starting it, I started it with my wife in mind,
Mm.
something that me and my wife can do together. And that was like the biggest thing for me because, um, you know, and as you know, Mike, this could be a very lonely, um, industry to be in, because it's, you do basically everything. from the paperwork to talking to clients to sales to editing to shooting. So, I wanted to make sure that I had some type of companionship when I started Sacred Crown. And so me and my wife run it together. And it's been awesome, man. It's been a beautiful journey. Recently though, I did get out of like the event space, or I'm trying to wean myself out of it, and do more of the, digital marketing side of things, but that's like slow and steady.
Mm.
I'm not running with it as much as I should, just because it's a different business model. And people still reach out to me for events, so I'm cool with that for sure.
So that's
Mhm.
awesome. I love that. So to kind of back up a little bit, um, you and I met, um, geez, going on like probably 8 years,
Yes.
7 years ago, something like that. Uh, we worked. I think I can say it. We worked at the Apple Store together, and we fell into, at least the way I looked at it is like I kind of fell into this really awesome environment of like young creatives who were all doing something, outside of their job. Like they,
Yeah.
were either, photographers, videographers, musicians, like graphic designers, like everyone had something that they were like into. And I don't know, I remember looking back on that time and, and just thinking, wow, this is like so cool. And we could probably
Absolutely.
fill like a whole podcast talking about like all the crazy shit that that went along with that time. Um, but for me, like when I look back on it, like the thing that I remember is like the people that we got to work with, right?
Absolutely.
And like those are like some of the best people that I've met like in my entire life for sure. And I remember having lots of conversations with you. I think you were like starting to dabble with event and wedding videography. I was also freelancing at the time. And then when I left uh in like 2017, I think I started there like 2014 and then left 2017. So God, it was like over 10 years. Jesus Christ.
Wow, dude. Yeah,
Um
dude. Yeah. I think we might have did core together, bro, honestly.
yeah, it was,
Yeah,
yeah, we
because I
started
got
around the
hired
same
around
time. I
2014
think you
too.
were a little before me, and yeah, but I remember meeting you and TJ and like all, these just like great people. And so anyway, basically like we kind of started at the store around the same time, and also we're like really starting to get into that like that wedding space at around the same time. So I haven't talked to you in a long time. It's been a really, really long
Yeah.
time, but
Yes.
our paths have kind of like crossed here and there. We actually ran into each other at a wedding, maybe like 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Like,
Um,
age.
and I was like, hey, he's doing it. Like he's doing the thing.
Yes, sir.
And that was awesome. But I want to hear from you. Like I want you to go back and because kind of the main gist of this podcast, or like the main thing that I really like to focus on, is like the different paths and like twists and turns that like led people into their craft. So
Right.
I'm always curious about like the things in people's lives that like led them into like where they are now. So if you want to take it back and maybe talk a little bit about like your background, if you were into like the visual
Oh,
arts like growing up, or if it happened later on, like let's get into it.
absolutely, man. So I think I knew that I wanted to go into film from like since the 7th grade.
Mhm.
I remember doing a project with my English teacher. His name's Mr. OD. I still talk to him to this day. And it's funny because he used to say, Chris, when you win an Oscar, you're gonna thank God, and then you're gonna remove the G and thank Mr. OD. And so I'm like, all right, cool, man. Absolutely. And to this day, he still gives me the same running gag. But the project that we did was like on idioms, and it was like idioms and metaphors, and like you're creating the literal version of what that looks like. So, like, for example, if I call you a slowpoke, It's literally like me filming somebody doing like a slow poke and like coming back and like making those idioms come to life visually. Um, so when I showed Mr. OD the project and he saw it for the first time, he's like, "Chris, no, like you've got a gift
Mm,
in storytelling. You've got a gift visually." So he really encouraged me in that. But at the same time, I was also very into dance and theater. And so at one point I kind of forsake the filming and I was like, you know what? Let's see how far I can go with theater and dance. And I spent like maybe the first couple years in my 20s just dancing for a company. So like 19, 20, 21. I was dancing for a company called the Work of Art Dance Theater and did ballet, modern, contemporary, jazz. I met my wife there, and I was really like really kind of getting into it. And I remember saying, you know what? Let me just live life with no regrets. Let me audition for like an off Broadway show.
mm,
And so I did this audition, and it was called Newsies. And Newsies, if you ever seen the Disney show, like it was very uh like when I think about dancing, like I'm like, oh, it's easy, simple. But the Broadway show was it was like or the off Broadway show was a completely different animal, like more technical, more
mm,
technique. And I realized in that moment, like seeing some of the guys that came in there, they're dancers, so chin to the ceiling, like just very regal, very stoic, very intimidating. And I made it past like the first round of auditions into the second round, and I didn't make it. And in that moment, I was like, you know what? I think I don't do well in competitive environments. I do
mhm,
well and better in collaborative environments. I don't like to compete realistically. Like I would much rather collab and like enjoy being together and working together for a common goal versus like having to compete and like just for ensemble, dude. I wasn't even trying to go for a leading role. I was just trying to be ensemble. And long story short, when I got to or after the audition, um, it kind of took a little toll on me. I remember talking to my dad, and my dad was like, "All right, well, what are you gonna do?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, you're either gonna go to school, get a big boy job, or So I decided, all right, well, I'm gonna still dance with the company, but get a big boy job. I worked at the post office for a little bit, and then I was like, "No, what? I don't even wanna do this because like, I'm on my route, like, delivering mail, listening to Les Mis, and I'm like I'm like, "This isn't" one of the I guess, neighbors or whoever, they came up to me and was like, "Hey, how old are you?" I was like, "Oh, I'm, like, 22." And he's like, "Why aren't you in school?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You don't wanna go to college?" It's like, "Not really." He was like, "You probably should, man," because he's like, I don't see you as a mailman for the rest of your life." And
mm,
he gave me some pretty good advice. And I looked at a lot of the old guys that were there, and they all said the same thing, "You're too young to be working here." I was like, "Okay." Long story short, I ended up taking their advice. I applied for Full Sail University, um, and at the same time, so this is 2014 now. Um, I'm probably like 23, 24. I applied for Full Sail University, and TJ, who you mentioned earlier, is already working at Apple. And I've reached out to him. I'm like, hey man, I'm just is there any way that like Apple's considering hiring or anything like that? He puts in the referral for me. Um, and then 3 interviews later, I get the job at Apple. I'm in Full Sail, and fast forward to 2017, where when I finally graduated Full Sail, um, do you remember a guy named Steven Simeone?
oh, yeah,
Okay, so Steven Simeone, once I finally finished graduating Full Sail, he puts me in. He's like, because he's very big into fashion, like photography and things like that. And he asked me, he was like, "Hey, do you want to record?" New York Fashion Week with me for it's like either Vera Wang or someone that does like prom dresses, and I think it's Vera Wang. It's like, yeah, of course, dude, absolutely. Like, this is my first gig, 100%. And from that point on, man, like I did one video for him, posted it, and it was just like, you know, that's kind of what put me on the map for a lot of different things in that space in terms of
Mm.
video. Um, yeah, and from that moment on, it was just kind of like, you know, oh, we didn't know you did film. Can you film this? Oh, we didn't know you did film. Can you film this? In between all that though, I did have like experience with weddings in the past, leading up to that, but you know, I wasn't taking it as seriously as I could, and I didn't really take it seriously until like maybe around, you know, right after I graduated Full Sail, 2017, 20. That's when I started getting the gear, and like I
Mm.
was able to get like a FX 700, which is somewhere on the shelf here. It's my first camera. I got some cine lenses, Rokinon, they're manual lenses. I had to pull, you know, I wasn't really, I didn't know what I was getting myself into when I decided to, you know, focus on like niching down on weddings. And thank God for autofocus now, because and tracking, because it was an
Yeah.
art style when I had to pull focus back in the day. I'm like, oh yeah, that's just art style.
Yeah.
That's how I shoot, you know. But um, you know, I definitely think I've gone from you know, just an amateur now to like someone that really, you know, knows what they're doing and kind of has a really solid formula and all that. But it started with, you know, me making a decision that I didn't want to compete for
Mm.
um, you know, for my right to be somewhere, if that makes sense, and really just, you know, collab. I collab with photographers in different, you know, different spaces when I'm there, and it feels good, you know, when you come in, um you don't know somebody, but you just greet them and you're like, "Hey, man, we're here. We have the same agenda, and that's to make the bride and groom feel like amazing." Coming in, talking to the DJ, and be like, "Hey, man, you know, this is the agenda. I'd like to shoot, you know, and just collab on that type of space. That means the world to me for sure."
Dude, so you touched on so many so many good things. I don't even know where to start. But I will say it's funny you mentioned Steve because I'm actually I actually have him scheduled to record with me.
Oh, beautiful! That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And that'll be interesting too because yeah, he'll be kind of like one of the first people that I talk to that isn't like really in the wedding space.
Right.
But I'm just kind of I know a little bit about his story because obviously we worked together around the same time and but yeah, I'm curious to get his 2 cents on things. That one will definitely be a little unhinged. But you know, so but I love the way you put, you knew that you weren't built to, like, compete and you wanted to be in something that was, like, more collaborative, and I don't know that I've ever, like, thought about my personality that way, but I identify with that, like, so
Yeah.
much. I mean, I, like, competed in sports in high school, um, but, like, I just I think the thing that I loved most about that was, like, feeling like I was a part of something, right?
Right.
But then, like, when it came down to, like, actually competing, I just remember having, like, so much anxiety about, performing and, like, um, I like, was it fu it was definitely, like, a big part of, like, my formative years, but looking back on it, like, was it really fun? Like, was it really, like, worth it? Like, I don't know. Um I'm like, I think about that with my kids now, and they're like starting to play sports, and thinking, and it's like pretty low key right now. Like they're
Right.
not
Right.
like really competing and like keeping score, but like I'm kind of like, oh my god, like when they start like actually keeping score and stuff, like I'm gonna be a nervous wreck, like probably more so even than they are. Um, but you mentioned like again the collaboration thing. I remember starting at Apple and like and all and that whole time there really like just kind of feeling like we were all in it like together, right? Like it felt like even though a lot of times you were like one on one with like customers and stuff, like you still kind of felt like, all right, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And again, like I keep coming back to it. Like I think about it a lot, how much like we all were like a little family there. And it felt like a collaboration. It felt like we
Yes.
we were like all trying to like achieve this same goal. And like, whatever you think about Apple as a company, I will say, at least on the retail side, I felt like they did an amazing job hiring for people that like had a very specific like personality, right? And people who were like, you know, empathetic and like were very well rounded in terms of like interests and like things that they were into and yeah, so I feel that really, really like in my gut. Um
Absolutely.
yeah. um but like the other thing you said too, you had like these people in your life who, were kind of like guideposts, right? Who kind of like were like, hey, dude, who saw something in you, who were like, you need to pursue this, or like, this isn't what you should be doing.
Right.
Like,
Right.
like you need, like, we need, and I think about that too. Like, I had, people in my life who were like, um, who came in at the right time that said like the right thing to me to, to get me to where I am now. Um, and I feel the same way about weddings too. Like it is a collaboration. Like we're all there, and I tend to gravitate towards the people who look at it that way, right? And
Yeah.
like one of the themes that's kind of come up in like past episodes is like not really loving the ego of like certain people, right? Like
Right.
because in essence, it's not really about that. Like it's not about you. It's not about you getting this like hero shot, right? It's
Right.
about you getting something that the client is going to love, right? It's you about getting something that the client is gonna remember. Um, so I love the way you put that. Um, so all right, so you're doing so are you still at Apple while you're like shooting weddings or like doing the branding thing? Like what does
Yeah.
that timeline look like?
So so while I'm yeah, I mean, so I think I left Apple so it's what, 5 years ago. So I left Apple in 2020 or maybe 2021. No, 2020 cuz this is actually my 5th year anniversary at the church that I work at
Mm,
now full time. That's my 9 to 5. But I will say like you know, when working at Apple part-time and, like, at one point I was everyone was trying to, like, "Chris, you got all this freedom. Why do you wanna try to go to work at Apple full-time?" I was like, "It's the consistency. It's the consistency of knowing that I'm going to get a pretty decent check versus going months as a freelancer waiting for my next gig." And that was always the struggle, man. Like, I don't when I think about how long I've been doing so let's say, since 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So it's like 8 years where now I feel like, um and I feel like now I'm at a place where it's, I have maybe 1 or 2 gigs a month, and I'm doing okay, right? Like, it's not like I'm not overbooked, I haven't reached the 24-30 mark yet, but, I mean, it's still years of putting yourself out there and, like, of not having that not knowing, like, when your next gig's gonna come, you know what I mean? So but I think word of mouth definitely plays a good role in it. Social media, that I'm still, like, trying to figure out how to, like, navigate that space because I don't wanna I always wanna seem authentic and genuine, and that normally comes from a conversation more than it does with me like, "Hey, look at my work," I
mm,
that was one thing, I will say, like, working at Apple, and, like, being a freelancer and it's like, the when you have to boast about yourself, it's like it's so It feels weird. I'd rather let my work speak for itself in a lot of different ways, and, um, and not have to, sell myself because 'cause I'm not a salesman, and you know, I'm
Dude,
really not.
no.
I just wanna give you a service and, like, I know I'll do it, like, make your day feel special. I know I'll make you feel like I know you'll be happy with the end result. Uh, whether or not you trust me or, you can see the work that I do, if it aligns with, your vision, then absolutely book me and we'll have a great time. But
Yeah.
yeah,
No, dude, I feel that, and that's, like, so much of the reason why I wanted to do this was because I felt like, you know, this was a way for me to show my face, right? Show my personality, in a way where it doesn't feel like I'm, like showing up on my, Instagram stories or on TikTok being like, "Hey, like look what I'm doing." And I
right,
and I and I still try to make an effort to do that because at the end of the day, like people do like that, like people that want to book you still really do like that, but I don't know. Maybe it's a generational thing. I just feel really cringy when I get on there and start talking about like all the things that I'm doing, but I still try to do it. Um cuz I mean sometimes it is fun, but like it's just not natural. It just doesn't come naturally to me. Like this, like having conversations, like trying to find like common ground with people like this comes naturally to me.
yeah,
Like and at the end of the day, what I love most about being a creative, being in the wedding space, being in any like service industry really is like the people.
yes,
And like you said, it can be lonely, right? Like it can be isolating. And I really try to like and again, this is why I like wanted to do this was because I run into people at weddings, right? Like I saw you at a wedding like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was. Um, but and, like, I had forgotten that, you used to dance professionally. Like, I had forgotten that, you do, like, audiovisual for your church. Like, like, these are the things that I don't get to talk about with people when I see them at weddings, right?
right, right,
Um, and I love, like, the diversity of paths that people take to get to these whatever job or role that they wind up in as a creative. Um and like, weddings are beautiful, weddings are great. Um like the details are always, a lot of times like there's beautiful flowers, there's beautiful decorations, there's beautiful settings, venues, but at the end of the day like what really makes it come to life is like the people, right? It's
right.
it's the couple, it's their families, it's their friends, um and it's the vendors that like make it come to life, right? Like all that stuff like really doesn't mean anything unless you're surrounded by good people, in my
Yeah,
opinion. In my opinion. Um
absolutely. Yeah, I agree for sure. Sometimes I will. That's why I spend a lot of time trying to like get to know my potential client, asking questions or like setting up a Zoom call rather than just sending out a form and saying, "Hey, fill this out. I have this date available," and then I'll follow up with you like a week. Like that stuff doesn't work for me. Even before you book with me, I want to sit down. I want to conversate. I want to kind of see if there's a chemistry or a connection. And again, it's like um, for some people or some like bigger, I guess, corporations or whatever, like they may not take that approach because they don't have the time to, but like I kind of have the time to do those things for sure. So like I do my best to like, make sure that I'm cultivating the relationship with the potential client before I do anything else, to be honest. So and then, if we align and we have that relationship, then like for sure we're moving forward on that. Absolutely.
yeah, I'm big on connection too. You know, I find that I want to work with people um like at the end of the day, we're running a business, right? Like so we have to like make money to support our families, but um my mentality has always been like if it's not fun, like I don't want to do it. Like if it's not
Right.
meaningful, like I don't want to do it. Um, so and that's probably been to my detriment, like, in a lot of ways because
Yeah.
but, yeah, I don't know, like, I just it's gotta be fun, it's gotta be meaningful, and, like, the big thing for me has always been, like, purpose, right? Like, feeling like what I'm doing needs to feel like it's got a purpose, and that's true on, like, kind of a smaller level, like, always kind of needing to know why I'm doing something. And it's also true on like kind of a bigger, like more spiritual scale too, right? Like wanting to feel like what I do matters in the grand scheme of things. Um, and again, like right, wrong, or indifferent, like that's just the way it's always been for me. Like I want to
Right, right,
feel like what I'm doing actually matters. Not just to me, but like to other people.
right.
Um, so yeah, I get the sense that you kinda have the same
Yeah,
mentality.
it's definitely the same mentality for sure. For a long time, I guess, one thing, my dad passed away in 2023,
Mm,
and, when he passed, it was different because it's like, I didn't realize how much of a fan he was of mine, if that
mm,
made sense. And, how much he would, like, root me on, and, like, when I graduated from Full Sail, he was just, I cried hugging him, and, just 'cause I knew how special that of a moment that was for him. So my dad was definitely someone that when I had to question my purpose, or when I felt like giving up, or felt like I wasn't, qualified or good enough, I could just go to him, and, he'd have something to say to just, "Hey man, sometimes you just gotta do it. There are gonna be brick walls. You just gotta figure out how to get over them." Now I'm like, "All right, okay, well, I'm figuring it out. You'll figure it out, son. You'll figure it out. Okay. All right, dad. Thanks." But no, it was simple but effective. And
mm,
when he passed, I it was hard for me to like kind of pick up and just keep going, because like it's like, what am I doing this for? You know what I mean? Like
mm.
I created Sacred Crown, yes, for me and my wife, but also just to show my dad, like, hey man, that college degree is definitely doing something for me for sure. Like I'm using it for, it's doing something. Um and, even then, still proud, still very like, understanding that everything takes time. He wasn't expecting a microwave thing. He just wanted me to continue to propel and move forward. And I think I carry that now more than anything. I'm still figuring this out, right? I'm still figuring out um, what I'm doing, but there is fulfillment, and I do find a lot of fulfillment in what I'm doing, um, as a creative in the space. I think the biggest thing for me is just services, and like offering services, um, and being able to just give myself to people, um, where, to make something that they thought could never come true or like happen on their own, like
Mm.
just to be a little piece of that, to be like, hey man, I want you guys to dream big. Whatever you dream, we'll do our best to make sure that we can fulfill that vision. And sometimes, man, like people are just so happy that like you're just kind of partnering with them and like helping them come together, and not, and kind of relieving such a big weight, because it's really just the memories that they want captured. And so I do find a lot of fulfillment and purpose in that too, where it's just like, you know what, man, like if I can just continue to offer these services just to make people feel, um, like their memories are going to be preserved forever, and that and it's well kept. I'm Gucci, like Guccione.
Well, you actually touched on something, and it's actually something I haven't really talked about on the podcast yet, but I kinda knew at some point I was gonna wanna, like, explore this idea a little bit too, so, thinking about death, right? And and like what we do, right? And like capturing people's memories. I mean, it's happened on more than one occasion for me where, I'll take a photo of someone and then, find out later on that that person passed away. Um,
Yeah.
and it actually happened in like a very like I was shooting a wedding was shooting a wedding like right around COVID time, like peak COVID time. Um, and it was really important that this family, like, everyone was like postponing weddings and postponing receptions and all this other stuff. But it was really important to this family that they have their actual ceremony, because the father of the bride was like basically dying from terminal cancer. And so we show up and photograph the ceremony and get a photo of the bride with her father, and then I think it was like maybe a week, like 10 days later, I got an email from the bride saying that the father had passed away.
Wow,
And like
man.
they wanted to use, some photos for the memorial, and I was like that was for me like the clearest example
Yeah,
um of how important like what we do is, right, for people.
absolutely.
It's about preserving the memory of the couple, obviously, but like and ever since then, and this is maybe a little bit dark and morbid, but I'll see, a photo, or I'll see, like the grandparents, or like the older like aunts and uncles at the wedding, and I always make it a point to like try to get photos of those people, because
Yes,
you don't know if like that's going to be the last nice photo of those people. Um
absolutely.
and so but like the one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast too was because I kind of feel like there's like a deeper kind of like a deeper level of what the photographers and videographers role is in society, right? And I almost look at it as like we are like the modern day like record keepers,
Yeah,
you
I was
know?
just about to say we're modern day scribes, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And so yeah, it's like the next iteration of, there was like the written word, right? And then, somehow technologically we found a way to like freeze time, you
right.
know? And so I don't know, like I'm curious, like what's your thought on that? Because clearly you've thought about this too.
Yeah, I've definitely thought about this. I almost so between like it's so funny we're talking about this, but like my so Sacred Crown Studios was almost going to be like Scribe Entertainment. It was going to be like something dealing with Scribe because I didn't initially like I had a friend. I was doing an event. And he even said that he was like, bro, like I feel like you're a scribe, dude. Like, you got your camera, you're capturing this. It was a church event, but it was still kind of like it was just concerts, music, singing, and just being able to look back at something that happened, you know, where they can kind of pull back the memory and be like, oh yeah, we did say that or we did sing this or so I feel like, in a lot of ways, like that's really our role, man. Like, going to an event, because no two events for me are always are the same. Like the setup, yes, trying to set things up, but I'm still also looking to see like if there's a theme and like what the theme is and like still see what the overall like um you know like for example, I was doing a wedding and the groom didn't have his parents there.
Mm,
They both had passed away. And so the parents, so when it came time to do the dance, like their first dance, the groom and the bride did the bride and the groom did the dance. The bride and her father did the dance, and then the mother of the bride and the groom did the dance together. And it was just like such a moment. And I was thinking, I'm like, man, like, everybody's situation is a little different. And like when you go into these things, you can't really like come in thinking like, what if I had said the wrong thing at the, setting up, hey, where's your father? Is your mother like, is he gonna like, you know what I mean? So there's always that sensitivity that I do have in that space. Um, but being able to like record and preserve such a precious moment for their kids to see, and like,
Mm.
it's like it's so important to just at least what we do is definitely very important in that space, because man, that was such a powerful moment for me to just kind of see that, and like there was like all those emotions, like man, you felt in that moment, man, like this groom, you know I mean, now that he's married, now he has a mom and dad now, that's like tangible, physical, through his wife, and it's kind of awesome to just kind of see that adoption in that moment too, and be a witness to those things, because I feel like we're a witness to a lot of first, uh, in when we film weddings and stuff.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it literally is like a sacred thing, right? And um, like it's not lost on me that what we do is like we get to like we get to be present in moments where like sometimes the couple's parents or like family doesn't even get to
Right,
see, right? Like
right,
you know whenever couples do like a first look and then they want to do like like a private vow reading, and they don't want anyone else there, but it's like me and like another photographer and like a video team, like we're the only ones there.
yeah,
I'm like, this is beautiful, but like something about this just doesn't feel right. You know what
right,
I
right,
mean?
right. Dude, I feel that too, like the vows the moment, because I feel like private vows have become a little bit more of a, like, a thing now,
Hmm.
and, so I have, I'm lobbing up the bride or the groom, making sure that, audio's good, and so then, I'm sitting down editing, and now I have those personal vows, and I'm listening to all of it, because I mean, it's personal to them, but they still wanna see it.
Yeah,
And so I'm, incorporating this, and I'm listening to all of it, and I'm like, dude, like I'm a spy, bro. Like I shouldn't be hearing these words, or like, you know what I mean? Like this is definitely something very personal, but I think that's the beautiful thing about the trust, that when a couple, um, hires us to do the work, that they already trust us with their most sacred, intimate moments, and they want us there, believe it or not, because it's like, they want it to be captured, but they feel comfortable with us to be able to just, eh, to be able to share in front of us those beautiful moments. I think it's special for sure, and I don't take it for granted.
yeah, yeah. It blows my mind sometimes where I'm like, wow, how cool is this? Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
and I like, and like there's times like during like bride prep where um like the bride's in her dress for the first time and then like the mom sees her for the first time, like I'm getting to like I'm getting to be a part of this before like even like her best friends are getting to see her. I don't know, like it's like super duper special. um and I've always, not always, but like I've recently been thinking about this idea of photographers and how, and actually the original concept for the podcast was going to be like the record keepers, like because that's kind
Yeah,
of like how I saw our role in like society as like the modern day like record keepers. um but I don't know, I kind of went a little more like I want these conversations to be fun and like uplifting
right,
too. So
right.
but anyway, like but it's definitely like a topic that I'm very interested in, and like a side of what we do that I think is just like really 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 cool. um but in any case, um sometimes I lose my train of thought.
No, you're golden, man. Listen, we're cruising. We are cruising.
Oh, so all right, that's what I wanted to ask you. So you know like losing your dad, right, and like kind of losing that guidepost, I guess, right? um how is that like influenced? So now you're a father too, right? Like we're both
Oh
fathers.
yeah.
which
Absolutely.
is a crazy mind fuck, honestly.
Man, I
So,
mean, you
like,
got 2 boys, bro. Yeah,
I got I
I
got
feel
2
like
boys
the
and a girl now. I got a
oh,
little girl now too.
oh, Gooch. I didn't know about the little baby girl. Oh,
Yeah.
man. Never mind. I was gonna be like, "Dude, you can go out and play Power Rangers and have a good time and, like,
Well, we do
I
that
could play
too. We
ball."
do that we do that too,
Ah,
but we gotta save some time for,
the
playing
Barbie dolls.
playing with the Barbie. Um,
That's all I play in my house is all Barbies. So funny, man.
but,
I
like,
get dressed up. Sorry, sorry.
no, 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 you're good, you're good. I was just gonna ask, like, um, you know, losing your father, like, how has that influenced your relationship with your girls and your
Um,
family?
so I was telling my wife, sometimes it's just hard to be a dad without your dad.
Mm,
Um, you know, again, there's a lot of firsts that my dad won't see from my girls that I was always looking forward to because I have 3 other brothers, so my dad raised nothing but sons, and so for me to be the one, and my oldest brother has two boys, so and then I have 2 girls, and my dad always wanted to have a girl. Like he always trying to give us that sister, but he dropped the ball for sure. Because my little brother came out and he was like, "I don't know, I'm done." Um, and so for me, it's still like the grieving process is weird. I still have my moments. I still process it differently. One day I got a flat tire and I was like, man, who like I was about to call my dad just to see if I can get a deal. And I was like, oh, it still kind of hits me a little differently. But when it comes to my girls, man, I feel like having I just want to be as present as possible. My dad worked a lot. He worked like 3 jobs. But they were all like security jobs. So there were nights where he wasn't even home and he'd just go from one job to the next job to the next job. Um, and I really just want to be present with them. And so I think it's super important that yes, I work a 9 to 5, but that's why I'm very selective with even how much I take on. Um, 1 to 2 gigs a month is probably I'm okay with, um, because those other 2 weeks where I get to take them out for a weekend or go to the aquarium or do something that is just memory building and you know I've actually so because my job requires me to record and take video on my camera. I was so hesitant to start pulling out my camera and start recording my girls, but it's
mm,
something that I'm starting to do now where it's just let me just pull this out and just it doesn't have to be perfect because when you have that in your hands, like your camera in your hands, it's like you're shooting for perfection. And I don't want to I'm not shooting for perfection with them. I just want to have that, whatever the raw moment looks like that's what it's gonna be, and we're gonna preserve that, and I'll figure out what I'm gonna do with it later, but at least I have those moments. Um, so yeah, dude, it's when it comes to my girls, it's just being present. It's being there to be an example as well. I would hope that as they get older, they kind of understand the work that I do and the impact it has. But even if they don't understand that, at least they can say dad was always there or
mm,
he's my I want them to just be able to know that that I love them a lot and that I was doing things that everything that I did or do is for them
yeah. No,
in that
100%,
space.
100%. It's funny because my boys are now 5 and 7,
Wow.
and they're starting to kinda understand what it is that I do and where I'm going on the weekends, and, but they still will be like, "Daddy, you don't have to go. Like,
Yeah.
you can just call out." And I'm like, "No, like,
No.
I can't do it." I mean, the beautiful thing about, the schedule is, like, I'm around during the week,
Right.
and so, like, it gives me time to do this, but, like, literally, I texted you before, we got on this, like, I'll be right there. I just gotta get my kids on the bus. And,
Right.
before that, I drove my other daughter to her school. Like, so, you know, and I didn't have that with my dad. And that's not like a knock on him, like same with your dad. Like my dad was working and it was always like, and he commuted, so like he was, he had like an hour to 2 hour drive to go wherever he was going. And, then he'd be there and he wouldn't get home till like 8 o'clock at night. And, by the time, 8 o'clock rolls around, like he's tired, he just wants to eat dinner. And I get
Yeah.
that. Like, when I get home from a wedding, like,
Just
you
wanna go
know,
to bed.
let's go. Right. Right. Exactly. Um, so, it's not lost on me, like how blessed I am that I have the schedule that I have, that I can like spend time with them during the week. And like when they come off the
Yeah.
bus, like I can, play basketball with them or like, take my older son to baseball practice or whatever. Like that's like a really beautiful thing. Um, but yeah, at the same time, like they're starting to understand like where I'm going and what I'm doing. And it's hard to like you said, like as much as I love what I do, so much of like what I say yes to, like is so that ultimately we can do more as a family, right?
Right.
Um, and and you were talking about preserving moments with your girls. Like I'm the same way. Like I pick up the camera so much other times where I'm
Yeah.
like, even like if we're going somewhere, like man, I don't want to. I just
Yep.
it's like
Yep.
I gotta go home and I gotta edit these.
Right.
It's like I already have like all these shoots I gotta edit. Like I don't want to put more work on myself, but I never regret when I do take the
Right.
photos, right? Like maybe I won't get to them for like a month or two, but I never regret going back and like seeing those. And then I'm always like, man, I need to do this more often. Like I really need to do this more often. Um, and I'm glad you reminded me of that because I really, even if it's just like we're walking around the neighborhood, or like, going up to the little park in our neighborhood, like just bringing the camera along for something like
Yeah.
that, like I love, when I've, brought my camera, like for whatever reason, just brought my camera with me and then take those photos. Like you said, even if they're not perfect or like, because my instinct is like, wait, 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 you got to
Right,
turn your
right,
head because
right,
you're not in the right light. Like you got to, like the light's really spotty there. You got to move. You got
right.
to.
Dude, my 18-month-old will like, she sees me with the camera and she just comes and palms right on the lens, and I'm like, "Oh, gross." But, like, I'm not too upset because like, you play it back, that's just a moment that speaks to, like, who she is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, she's just carefree, no, it's so funny, and then Jubilee, I think she has, like, the theater bug, dude. She's got
Mm.
that's my oldest. She's very, like, theatrical, and she makes the faces. We were at Maggiano's, and I not to get too far off subject, but I'll just show you what she was doing. She was just, like, her eyes are closed, she's listening to the old music, she's snapping her fingers, eyes are closed. I'm like, "Juby, you're grooving?" She's like, "Yeah, daddy." Snap. I'm like, "Oh, man." And she's just feeling it, and she's moving so slow, and I'm like, Kimmy, what do you teach her at home, man? Like, what are you doing?"
But
But yeah, man.
they're just like so present, so in the moment,
Yes.
they're
Yes.
like not, and like that's, you know, such a gift, right? As like a parent, to like just let them be themselves, let
Yes.
them be present in the moment because it like snaps me back into the moment, right? Like prior to having kids, um, I would like to say I would go to a wedding and like let's say there was like a shot that I could have done better, right? Or like something that I feel like, oh, like I definitely could have, maybe spent more time doing this, or like I could have framed this a little bit differently, whatever. But I would like think about those things for way longer than I should have, right? Like
Right.
I would really like beat myself up for like way longer than I needed to, right? Um, but the beautiful thing about like coming home to kids now is like, most of the time I come home they're asleep, but like sometimes I'll come home they're still awake, and like I got to snap out of that real quick. Like
Yeah,
anything that I think that I messed up, like I got to snap out of that real quick. Um, because they all they really want is your presence. They just
yep,
want your attention. They just want your presence. Even if it's just you sitting there while they're doing something, um, that's all they want.
that's really it. My sometimes so, like, I didn't realize I was doing this, but, sometimes I'll come home, after a shoot, and I just get really quiet, like, I don't really say anything, I'll just come in, and, my oldest, she's very talkative, she wants me to so she'll be talking to me, and I'll just be like, "Uh-huh, mhm," and she'll be like, "Daddy, talk." Oh,
I
I'm
know.
sorry, and then I'll tell her, "Jubilee, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Ask me the question again," and she'll go through it, and so the snapping out of it quick, because no matter how tired we are, you know, being able to give that same energy to our family while we're outside on a shoot, is still so much more, still required. And that's for anyone in this space. Like it is hard, and like the work life balance can get very taxing. But when you have the family, it's like, that much is still required, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. And I'm not perfect at it for sure. There are times where I need to decompress, but I am learning that, like, you know, as I continue to make strides to better myself in this industry and to really just kind of perfect not just the systems and the workload, but also like the mental capacity that goes along with that, is that, got to leave it at the door.
Mhm.
Um, got to leave it at the door. You come in, and now you're the family guy. You're the family mom. You're the one that now has to be present for the little ones, because they may not know what a shoot's like. And when they get older, I told Jubilee, when she gets older, you'll be coming on one of these with daddy for sure. Just want you to understand what this is like. You'll have a good time. I'll give her a camera, have her carry my sticks, because that's the biggest thing. My tripod's
Yeah.
heavy.
Yeah.
But just being able to walk through the door, and to that point, be and just snap out of it really quick, and really just be there.
Mhm.
Even if it's for an hour, spending that hour, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, hey, play with them. All right, daddy's got to go shower. Perfect. That's your time to just
Yeah.
drop everything after. There it is. Let me just do that. And my wife knows that, and that's part of the teamwork in the balance, is that she understands where and how I have to work sometimes. She handles the logistics and uploading my footage and getting it on a timeline. And then I'm sitting there like, all right, perfect. Let me just lock in. But she understands the mental sometimes for me, because sometimes she'll know not to really communicate with me after a shoot, or into the next day. I just need like a full 24-hour reset
I know. It's
before I
so
can
I
get
don't know
there.
about your wife, but, like, with my wife, we just process things differently. It's
Okay.
really, like, interesting, like, um and it was a bit of a learning curve, like, early on in our relationship because my wife is like she processes things, like, verbally, right? So, like, she would call me on her way home from work, and she would wanna tell me, like, everything that happened
Right,
that day,
right, right.
right? And, mm, you know, and still does, right? Like, and we've kinda gotten to the point now where, like, she knows I'm probably not gonna have, like, feedback for her, like, and if she asks for feedback, I'll give it to her because I really do try to,
Right.
like, actively listen, um, but the way that I process things is, like, vastly different. Like, I'm like you. Like, I get home from a wedding, I get home from a shoot, like, I don't wanna talk. Like,
Right,
she'll ask me,
right.
like, "How was the wedding?" I'll be like, "Oh, it was a really great day." And, like, that's all you're getting from me.
Yes, that's it. Yes.
Like, I need, like, maybe 24 to 48 hours to, like, fully decompress.
Yep.
before I can like start to verbally tell you like what happened. Um,
Absolutely.
because I'm just not in a place where I can like relive the whole day yet. Like I
Yeah. You're gonna be reliving it maybe 2 times over
yeah,
because once you sit there and you're editing, it's like you're going from chronological order all the way up back to the, ceremony and all that stuff. So,
yeah.
yeah, I feel that, man. Sometimes, I really do try my best to, like, let my wife know in the moment, like, "Hey, I just can't talk." Like, I really can't. Um, and again, I think my wife's the same way where she processes things verbally because, she's, "Hey, this needs to be done, this whatever, whatever," or like, "Jubilee didn't do this," or Tehila didn't do that, or whatever, and I'm like, "Okay, um, let me just have a little bit of moment. Like, let me just think about it really quick." And like,
Yeah.
that's not even like I don't have a response right away. And she's doing better with it, but before she just thought like I was like, being very hard and cold. And I was like,
Mm,
no, Kimmy, I just need that moment. Like, I just need some time to like figure everything else out about myself in that moment. Like, did I like get these mental checklists checked and then like relax? And I promise you, when I wake up in the morning the next day, like I'm all yours. You can ask me whatever you want. Like you can whatever it is. But right after I need moment. I need time.
yeah. Yeah. And you know what it is, and like when you're on a shoot, when you're at a session, like you're giving so much of your presence to that, right? And
Yes.
that's like a beautiful thing, right? Because you're like fully present with that, whatever's happening there, right? Like whether it be a wedding or whether you're like styling or, directing like a session or like a video, you're giving so much of your presence to that. And, coming home, like it's hard. And then like the kids demand that presence too, you know? And so it's like, I think that's so much of like what our gift is as you know creatives, photographers, videographers, is like giving our presence to that moment, right? Because that's really what it
Yep.
is, right? Like especially when you're looking, when you're doing something like a first look, right? You have to be like totally dialed in that moment, right? Because you're trying to capture reactions, you're trying to like get those little in between moments, you're like um like you're literally, your focus has to be like there all day, you know.
Absolutely. And I also, I think one of the beautiful things that we do too is how people get a little shy when they're in front of the camera or like like it takes them away from that moment a little
Mm,
bit. So, I really try to remind people while they're doing their first look or they're in, forget pretend like I'm not even here.
mhm,
Like your bride is coming. She's getting like she looks so stunning, bro. I can't wait for you to see her, and like take it all in, take a moment. Like, I'm not even when people do their first looks, like I'm not even I let them linger and I just let it melt and just take it all in. Like I even tell them, "Hey, you guys can go for a walk, and then when you guys come back, you guys let me know, and we'll just continue from there." Because like, it's such a special moment. You're seeing your bride for the first groom for the first time. Like, you guys are about to go into this lifelong journey of love, and like, I don't want you guys to think about, oh, we got to get this next picture. No, like, soak it all in, and like when you
mhm,
come back, you guys are ready to do this together and like take all these pictures together. Um, and yeah, so, like, that's super important for me, so
I
to
really
make sure that
I like
yeah.
the way you put that, like, let it melt, like, let it, like
I learned that from Michael Jackson. He'd just stand there for 2 minutes and everybody's just screaming, and it's just like
Mm,
he's taking it all in. He's being present. He's
yeah,
just not even in a rush to perform. He just wants to, soak and dwell in that, and,
yeah.
like, I take that to heart, man. He taught me a lot as a performer, and I try to implement it in our everyday lives.
Well, that's interesting because I've also been trying more and more on shoots that I do to, like, set aside time to not direct at all,
Ooh,
to like maybe set aside, even if it's just like 5 minutes, to
yeah,
just tell the couple, like, listen, I'm not going to give you any direction for the next few minutes. I want you two to just like be together, and I want you to pretend like I'm not here. Like,
right.
what would you do, on this beach or on this sidewalk or whatever, wherever we are? Like, what would you do if I wasn't here? And then just like take a step back, and whatever it is, like that's what it is. Um, because more and more, like, the moments that I find most important or most special are like those unplanned little looks that the couple gives each other, or the little, like, kiss on the cheek, or like, the groom like brushing the hair to the side, like unprompted, like those are the things that I look at and I'm like, ooh, that was really, really special. I mean, there's certain like must have shots that you got to do, but like, you know, like you said, just like taking a step back and not being afraid to like shut up, like not being afraid
Yeah.
to just like shut the F up,
Yes.
like,
Bro, I think, um, it's almost like you're in a band, and, like, I don't know if you like so, like, for me, like, when I listen to music, sometimes the when the person's not singing, like, I listen to, like, a lot of, like, Angels and Airwaves and, like, just music that, like, is a little it's not too templated, it's not
mm,
super it's like rock and, metal, and, like, I think the best thing about, when I hear a song is, like, it's a journey. So it starts off with the instrumental, then you get a little bit of the voices, and then it goes back into the instrumental, and it's just like I think I like the instrumental parts the most because that's the time where I'm in my imagination and I get to pick like instead of someone painting a picture for me, I get to paint the picture in my head of what it looks like of
mm,
what's you know what I'm saying? And like to what you were saying, I think I that's how I see it. It's just like um, you know, they've been hearing your voice all day and now it's like, "Oh, you're telling us, okay, let we're gonna try to paint this picture together and like we're gonna see what we come up and you're still there scribing it up you're still there capturing you know what I mean recording the moment and capturing it and and then it's just it comes alive in so many different ways um I like that approach a lot man like and because it's sometimes it's in the instruments or like it's in those moments where like you might even get something that you didn't even plan for and it comes out so much it's like, wow, man, like I didn't even think about this or doing this, but they brought it to life, and it's something that they did that's unique to them, and I love that. So that's
yeah.
beautiful.
No, I think that's a really cool metaphor, like that music metaphor of like, um, looking for, like that duality, right? Like that duality of like, um, how do I want to put it? Like there's there's like the noise and then there's the quiet, right? There's like the action and then the downtime. Like I think you need both, right? Like you need the highs and you need the lows. And I think that's like a really great metaphor like for life too, right? Is you know, seeing beauty in the good and the bad, right?
Yes.
In the light and the dark. And so yeah, I mean I think that's just like a really beautiful metaphor, the way you put that. Um and like there's a lot of power in being quiet, right? And giving someone presence, right? Giving someone
Yeah.
permission to um like letting them just be themselves. And like I don't know, it's like it's almost like like a superpower, right? It's almost like a and I talk about this a lot too, like being able to walk into situations and kind of like read the room, and like read the dynamic without having like the information ahead of time, like you were saying
Right.
before about like, you don't know, um like what the you don't know if the parents are alive. You don't know if like there's like a weird dynamic between, the brother and sister. Who knows? Like there could be a million different things going on, but like you can walk into a room and like kind of read the vibe. That's just as much important as much as like the technical knowledge of your camera and your experience as a your experience doing the thing, like being able to read the vibe is arguably more important than any of that.
Right. Absolutely.
And
Yeah, man.
knowing when to like push the gas and like pump the brake and be like, okay, you guys need a break now. You like,
Absolutely.
yeah,
No, dude, I honestly, man, I try to stick to, um, like, the itinerary. I definitely ask a lot of questions and make sure that I have enough time. But, you know, in those gaps where, cocktail hour is coming up and I'm like, hey, like, I know you guys want to enjoy cocktail hour just as much as me. So
dude,
let's just let's just make this work. Here, if there's nothing else that you guys want to do, like I feel like we're good. And I've gone through all the shots that I need. Photographer's good. We're both good. Like let's just take a break.
yeah,
Enjoy yourself.
yeah. No, I'm literally like just recently I had wrapped up like really killer portrait session. Um, had done like all the bridal party, had finished up the family, and I had like purposefully left some time in the timeline for the couple to do like additional photos after that. And we had the time, and the light was killer, and maybe I should have pushed them to do it a little bit, but like in that moment, like they were done.
Yeah.
Like they were done. Her feet were killing her. Like he was exhausted. I could just tell. Like let's give them a break. And as much as like selfishly, I wanted to like push them to do more. Um, I like for them for their day, like they were happy. Like they were totally happy. We had gotten some like killer
Yes.
portraits before. Um, and we had gotten like plenty of what we needed to get. So, like who would those photos be for, right?
Right.
Th-
Oh, that's good.
Like
Yeah.
like those totally would have been for me to
Absolutely.
like post on Instagram and be like, look,
Yeah, I
um
I I definitely see that for sure. Just because for me, like when I'm creating a shot or directing a shot and I'm like putting it together, um, I there's always like for in film, there's like an ABC kind of thing that I do. It's like, there's the A shot where it's, the moment's happening, then I need the details. So then, I'll just kind of this way, every shot has like for one scene, there's always going to be like three different angles or three different shots for that one scene.
mhm,
So sometimes, when we do the first look and they come back, I'm like, okay, like I want to recreate like this angle or this shot. If I'm solo shooting, I do this more often than not. If I have another shooter with me, then it's I'm confident that like he's got or he or she's got like the angle or the side that I didn't get. Um, but what I'm basically trying to say is that when I do um hold on. I just had my thought, dude. It was I was right there.
you know what it is, dude?
Uh,
It's that dad life, bro.
oh yeah.
It just zaps your
It
brain
just zapped
cells.
right out. Um,
No, you were talking about like getting like there's like the A shot, the B shot, the C
yeah.
shot.
So, but you had said something about basically like giving like no, like being selfish with the shot. So like
Yeah.
there are times where I'll be like, I like I just need another like angle. I need something else, but like let me just do like like something big that's so grandiose. Meanwhile, like, I already kind of got the moment and they're gonna have to recreate it and like reforce themselves to go through it. And I'm like, all right, maybe I won't do it. I'm reading the room, I'm like looking at the bride. It's not gonna look good in the edit. I'm really just gonna try to just force this on them. Which I've done in the past and I'm not proud of, but I just wanted it to be really good.
Yeah.
Um, and like it's funny because like I'll do it and then I'll look at it. I'm like, oh, I'm probably not going to use it anyway. And it to your point, reading the room. and knowing, like, not to be selfish with the time because that could have been time they had to enjoy their wedding even more, but,
Yeah.
I've learned I've learned to do, like, the sayings, like, less is more.
Yeah.
So, in the past, when I was first starting out, dude, I'd shoot everything, and now that I kinda know, um, where I'm going or what I wanna do and, like, how I wanna tell the story, like, really, the speeches are super important for me,
Mm,
because that's a lot for me, that's where you get all the information, in from, like, ceremony, when they're saying their vows, depending on, the officiant, if they do have that like love story, I kind of incorporate that. But the speech is kind of what starts my highlight. And I'm like, all right, this is so that I sometimes I don't really know where I'm going up until that point, but the
mm.
portraits are all set, everything's kind of beautiful. And that determines the story and the lane I take with everything else. So
That's really interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, I never thought about it that way. I mean, obviously, like, that's a big part of what you guys are like, obviously, it's really important for video to capture that, but I didn't even think about that, like, sometimes you don't even know, like, how that edit's gonna go until you hear, like, that
yeah,
sound bite,
yeah,
that, like yeah, that's really interesting. Um, yeah, there's nothing worse, at least for me, than, like, imposing yourself on a moment and then shooting it and being like, "Oh, this isn't as good as I thought it would be."
like all
And,
right,
like, as you're shooting it, you have to be like, "Oh, this is great. Oh, this is great." And in the back of your head, like, "Oh, this isn't what I thought it was."
right, right.
Um, yeah, I mean, but, like, you don't know that unless you've done it a few times and you're like, "Okay, is this worth it for me?" Right? And you were saying, like, less is more, and I think
Yeah,
that really just comes with experience, right? Like, you start to know, like, what are the things that are really important and what are the things that we can, like, I don't wanna say gloss over, but, like, what are the things that we can, like, if we're pressed for time, like, what are the things that can kind of fall by the wayside that, like,
yeah,
aren't as important, right? So,
absolutely.
um, so the question that I kinda like to leave people with is, and I ask everyone this, like, where do you see Sacred Crown Studios, or where is Chris gonna be in, like, and you could have, maybe you have thought about this, maybe you haven't thought about this, because I actually don't have a good answer for this for myself, but I'm just curious, like, with other people, like, what does it look like for you over the next, like, 5 years? Like, what are some of your goals, or what are some of your, like, things that you're, like, hoping to achieve?
So definitely in the next 5 years, I I am, alright, so like I said, the event space is definitely, a blessing for me for sure, and I love it. But I'm also kinda seeing if there are other avenues that I can take, to expand Sacred Crown to, digital marketing agency and, I've recently started getting into working with, like, meta ads and, like, learning the other side of the business that will kinda help bring leads and more like qualified leads and that side's a little bit more it doesn't it's not as creative, so it is a little more taxing on my brain because I'm like, dude, I gotta like really analyze numbers and things like that, but it's okay. That's why I'm taking that avenue a little slow, but definitely looking to see if there is a possibility of developing Secret Crown Studios into an agency that still also does weddings and events and mitzvahs and things like that because I still care about the service. I still care about being able to preserve those memories. I may do it a little differently though. I think where I'm at now is I would like to be able to expand my team a little bit. I'd like to be able to at least hire an editor. So in
Mm,
5 years, I definitely have at least someone that's dedicated to editing my projects that will now alleviate some time for me to spend time really for my family. And I don't mind that really, like I like editing, but I don't mind if I had to like choose between like shooting and editing, I would probably give up the editing for sure.
100%.
Um, because just because it it's like one of the biggest things in this industry that eats away, time spent with my kids and the family. And so, um, yeah, I'm okay with that. So in the next 5 years, definitely want to make sure that there's at least one person on the team. My wife, but she's also my wife. So like, I don't want her touching the computer longer than she has to either. Um, or being on the, she sets up my timelines, which is great, or at least organizes my footage and, gets it to a place where, I can just come in and I feel like a director when I sit down and I'm like, you're done with everything. She's like, yep. I'm like, oh, perfect. Now I can just lock in on this,
Yeah.
because sometimes those little things, those little systems that like I have implemented kind of mean the world to me because it's important for me to be able to just flow
Mhm.
and like drop things down, have, kind of just do this little dance on the timeline, just to
Yeah.
get it out faster.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
I think that's great, dude. I I don't know. I've talked about incorporating my wife into my business many, many times, and she's like, "Oh, like you are you gonna train me?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'll train you. I'll train you." And then I just never do. Um, and I don't know if there's like I don't know, I'm like too much of a control freak. Like I don't know. There's probably something wrong with me in that I feel I still, as much as I don't love the editing process, I still am very resistant to putting in systems in place to like to take some of those things off my plate. So I don't know. I think that's something I got to work on. Is like letting
it's
go of control a little bit.
so that's the thing with me, like, when I and maybe it's something like I'm also like really I'm still kind of thinking about it, but when it comes to editing, I've learned that um like organization for sure is definitely a big key in like how you organize your footage and like, speeches, ceremony, reception, etc. Um, but I always try to like so out first like the biggest thing for me is looking at, the other work that said editor has done. But also just trying to figure out like are they is it really like a control thing, or maybe if I give you like this freedom, you might actually do something that might be a little bit better than what I could do. And
Mm,
like I'm okay with either or.
yeah,
um
no, that's a really good point. And for sure, there are things that my wife is way better at than I am.
right.
Um, yeah, so there's probably some like ego there. There's probably a little bit of like,
That's
yeah,
funny.
yeah, yeah, you might be onto something there. Um, you know, Mike doesn't want to be humbled.
No, it's
Um,
all good, dude. Listen, we still wear the pants in the house. It's all good.
no way, dude. No
Yeah,
way.
that's one thing. I won't have my like when I'm editing, I won't have my wife see the final edit until I send it to the client and get their feedback.
Mm.
And if the client's like, cool, we loved it, then I show it to her. She'll give me all the feedback she wants, but hey, the client loves it. So
Sneaky, sneaky.
I don't need to make any changes. We're golden.
Oh my god. Um, well, dude, I'm like super stoked that we got to do this together. This was really, really awesome. I kind of knew, based on our conversations at Apple and like, um, like the vibe, I kind of had a sense that I was going to get to talk to you about some stuff that I haven't really gotten to talk about like in other episodes. So like, I'm really grateful to you for that. Um,
Yeah, and I appreciate you, Mike. And I will say, this is my time to hype you up. I'm a big fan of yours. I love your photography. I love your work. I love how wholesome every photo is. A lot of whenever I'd see a Mike Guccione pic, I knew like even before I realized it was it's like it's on a beach. This is Mike.
yep.
But like you just do so like I love everything that you do in terms of just making things look authentic and genuine, and your composition is amazing. So like I'm a big fan, bro, and I definitely want to give you your flowers and thank you for asking me to be a part of this, bro. Cause like when you text me, I'm like, no way, bro. Like this is awesome. Absolutely. I'd love to be a part in any way, shape, or form. So thank you for remembering me in that. It means the world, dude.
Yeah, dude. I mean, listen, I appreciate the kind words. That means a lot. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Like I look back on those days and I think of them like very, very fondly. And like I said, it felt like we were like a little family and
Yes.
actually a pretty big
Yes.
family.
Yes. There are a lot of us.
Yeah.
A lot
But
of blue
like,
shirts.
I think about, you and like and a lot of the people that we worked with who um are now like professionals in this space. And actually, a couple weeks before I saw you, like I ran into Justin.
Wow.
Shout out Justin Huard, who's doing the thing too. Like
He just bought a red camera, dude.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Just
awesome.
bought
Yeah, and like
absolutely.
and him and his wife are doing it together. Like
Yep.
they're crushing it. So I love when I get to like cross paths with people from that world, and now we're doing it in this world. So,
Yes.
I think it's really, really cool that we kind of, I don't know, for me, I kind of looked at that time in my life as like a little incubator. Like it was like a little like um I was like sampling a lot of different things, right? Like
Right.
and the people that I met there, you're talking about having the opportunity to shoot at like New York Fashion Week. I remember like linking up with people who were like, "Oh, my like will you come do photos for like my band? Like my band is like doing a show." And like I'd never done concert photography, but I was like, "Sure, what the hell? Like let's do
Right,
it,"
right.
and then like somehow like got um passes to go shoot at like Warp Tour, like
Wow.
in like the photo pit at Warp Tour. Um, and it's like one of the coolest things I've ever gotten to do, right? Um, so yeah, I mean, I look back at that time and it was like just a little safe place where I felt like I was surrounded by a lot of peers who were doing like the same thing as me. And it was like really inspiring. Like it felt
Yeah.
like really inspiring and it kind of made me feel like I was a part of something bigger. So, you were a big part of that. Um and I'm glad you were willing to make the time to do this. And so I appreciate you.
Appreciate you, bro. Absolutely, man. This is amazing. And we get what's the saying? Onward and upward, and just we keep keep being in the trenches because I feel like we were in the trenches a lot together at you know the Apple Store.
Yeah.
But it was nice because the camaraderie was there. We all knew what we were into, and no matter what was going on, it was like, hey, man, like we got each other's back. It was, you know what I mean? Like, not saying it was a war zone, but it was definitely a red zone.
Yeah, we could probably spend a whole podcast talking about
That
all that.
absolutely.
Maybe that'll be an offshoot of this. Who knows?
No worries. That'll
Yeah,
be
dude.
great.
But thank you again, Chris, and hope our paths get to cross again soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
All right, brother.
All right, bye.
Bye.